Eire is the Irish or Gaelic word for Ireland. So take it easy, or as we say in Gaelic, lig the ski, and listen to all things concerning the paranormal in Ireland and indeed beyond. Welcome to Scary Eire.
All views are Mark Manning's own, but you can express them too if you want to be right about everything, like he is.
Mark Manning.
In association with Paranormal Radio UK. Welcome to Scary Eire. Time to grab that coffee or pour that glass of wine. Today, I'm proud to present for you a Derek Acorah special. We all loved our Scouser, Derek. And shortly we'll have the honour of being joined by his widow, Gwen, who I've just taken to in a big way, because I find her so refreshing and down to earth. For those of you living on Mars, the late Derek Acorah was a British television personality, a psychic medium, someone who says they can communicate with spirits of the dead. He was best known for appearing on paranormal TV shows in the UK. Although well-established and well-known, he gained major popularity on the TV show Most Haunted, which aired from 2002 to 2005 during his time on the programme. The show followed a team investigating reportedly haunted locations around the UK and Ireland, and the States as well. Derek was, in my view, the master of sensing spirits and relaying messages from them, often entering trance-like states. Now, if you think today I'm going to dig down and dirty about the whole Ciarán O'Keeffe and the Creed Caffer Gate controversy, well, I'm not. Go Google Ciarán O'Keeffe and Derek Acorah, if that's your thing. Maybe someday we'll talk to Ciarán O'Keeffe himself and ask him, did he do that of his own volition, or was he perhaps coerced into it? Either way, that's for him and his conscience to decide. For me, Derek Acorah was pure entertainment. No matter what you thought about him, he was a pure showman and entertainer, which are all needed to be a psychic medium worth watching. Now, for those of you who like fact more than gossip, the main presenter of Most Haunted, Yvette Fielding, published her memoirs in 2024 in which she made certain allegations about Derek Acorah. And it's only right that Gwen Acorah gets an opportunity to refute aforementioned allegations, and in this show you'll hear her doing exactly that. So stand by, because she'll be joining us on the phone very shortly in her Liverpool home. And indeed, you and I will be spending over an hour in Gwen's cozy company. But first, random, anonymous, strange, but true.
I stayed with my husband's family over one Christmas. I was pregnant at the time, so I went to bed early while the others stayed up playing cards. I woke up and saw my husband just standing at the side of the bed. I was about to say, "What are you doing? Get in." But then I felt my husband lying next to me, asleep. I know it wasn't a dream because I put my hand on his chest and felt him breathing. So a ghost of my husband was looking down at himself. I was so terrified I couldn't even speak, so I covered my head with a blanket and eventually fell back to sleep. The next day, I started searching what could it mean, and there's an Irish paranormal phenomenon called a fetch. A fetch is basically a ghost or copy of a living person. That means that either the person will die soon or have really good fortune, depending on the time of day that the fetch appears. Bad omen at night, good omen in the morning. Unfortunately, I didn't check the time, so I have no idea if it was nighttime or the wee hours of the morning. He's still alive and kicking, but I was so paranoid in the days after that I hid the hoodie the fetch was wearing.
When I was in school, I had a friend that lived in an estate that had a reputation of being the worst in the town. He told me that one of his neighbours had a pair of the cursed crying child paintings in the house. I thought, cool. So after school we went to see them. He took me to a house that looked derelict and knocked on the door. A spindly, dirty person of indeterminate age and gender opened the door, and my friend said, "Can we see the paintings?" The person nodded and led us into the house. The house was damp and dirty and absolutely stank. There were no carpets, and the rotten floorboards sagged as we walked on them. There were no lights, but in the dim hallway I could see the peeling wallpaper and dog shit on the floor. The resident opened a door under the stairs and took out 2 paintings and propped them against the wall, then immediately left the hall into a back room. As we looked at them, I could hear the person start to cry and shriek in the back room. Like, it wasn't a supernatural occurrence, but I unexpectedly ended up in a near-derelict house with someone who had psychiatric and possibly substance issues. I was about 14 at the time, and 25 years later, I often think about how awful that person's life must have been.
My old man had 2 stories from his old fella. So rural Ireland in the 1950s was probably 100 years behind the rest of Europe. It was very religious and very superstitious. The first involved him, Grandad, cycling home from his farm labourer job. It was late and dark, and when he was passing by a corner, he saw an open coffin by the side of the road. Slightly freaked out, he went over and looked in to see his young, just married daughter inside. And then it was gone. He rushed home to find out his daughter had passed away a short time earlier, the exact time he would have seen the coffin. The second story was when he and his siblings would be lying in bed at night. They would hear the fiddle being taken down and the table being set, and then the sound of people talking and drinking. I didn't know my grandfather. He died when I was very young, but I suspect that the first story might be due to a man who, from the stories I've heard, suffered from severe PTSD from his time in the trenches in the Somme. But the second story, as I got older, I realised it was probably just his parents having a party and not wanting the kids annoying them. Said this to my old fella though, who was not impressed.
Well, this is Scary Eire, and for those of you who don't know what Eire means, it's the Irish word for Ireland. And of course, a dearly beloved city very close to Ireland is Liverpool, and a whole Derek Acorah story begins in Liverpool that we're going to start relating to you now, because I have his widow, Gwen, on the line. Good evening to you, Gwen.
Good evening, Mark.
Do you know, I could probably throw a stone from my studio across the Irish Sea and hit your house.
Possibly, yes, you could. It doesn't take long to get between the 2 cities.
And, of course, Derek had an affinity for the Irish, I think.
Oh, absolutely, yes, he did. He did, because his family on both sides had Irish links, as I do myself.
Oh, really? Do you know what part of Ireland they're from?
I don't know what part of Ireland Derek's family came from, but my links were Northern Irish.
Ah, my good lady is a Belfast woman herself. So there you go. And actually, you have the same colouring. You know, you've got that lovely hair together. So I just thought I'd mention that. It put me in the good books as well with the missus, who knows how big an admirer, I want to say admirer, of Derek Acorah I was. Because I think if you say you're a fan...
Derek hated the word fan himself. He preferred to refer to them as friends, actually.
Before we go into this, which I believe is a big, rich tapestry containing life, luck, love, the paranormal, it was a big thing rather than just the whole most haunted thing that you hear about all the time. And that's what made...
Most haunted was only a brief moment in time as far as Derek's life was concerned.
Yeah, of course. And it was such a life, and we're going to go through it. So I don't want to just, dump into that end of things, which is, it's all been said and kind of done and dusted. We of course we'll address it, but I'm not going to make it the focal point of our chat, because I have got Gwen Acorah talking to me. And, it's a big thing for me. I have a picture of Derek in my studio. And I can feel Derek telling me not to be such a brat, but it was just the way I felt, So look, let's just get on. It's the 6th anniversary only recently. Let's just get that bit out.
Of January.
Oh, just so close to Christmas and everything. It was tragic.
Mm.
So can I just bring you back there so we address it and get it out of the way? What happened? You both became ill. Take it from there.
Yes, we both had flu. What we didn't know and what nobody knew at that point in time was it was such a virulent strain of flu. People had been falling ill since, October. I can remember when Derek did his Halloween event, and people then were ill. They had to cancel and this sort of thing. And we tottered through to Christmas. We were fine. And then the day after Boxing Day, we both started feeling quite ill, off, but not in a cold sort of a way. It was a fluey type thing. We were supposed to be going out on New Year's Eve to celebrate, but we cancelled. And on New Year's Day, Derek, his hands went white. He was really ill. We were both ill, but he was really ill. And so I telephoned Ray, who was Derek's tour manager and driver and friend, and he fulfilled everything for Derek on the road. And because I felt so dreadfully ill myself, I asked him whether he would take Derek to hospital, which he did. And when he came back from the hospital, he told me that Derek had been put into a medical coma. And I didn't quite understand why that would be, because he wasn't gasping for breath or anything like that. It was just he was ill, and obviously there was something radically wrong if his blood was sort of rushing towards the centre of his body rather than his extremities.
Yes.
And so at 1 o'clock in the morning of the 2nd of January, got called to the hospital because he was dangerously ill. He was still in an induced coma. And we sat with him all night, really. And I came home because we have dogs, we have cats, we have chickens. I came home for an hour or two to see to them. And it was a very strange thing. I came into the kitchen where the dogs are, and it's a very big room. And there is a set of French doors through into a conservatory. And as I was standing about halfway down the kitchen, I'd opened the French doors and the conservatory doors to let the dogs out. I saw Derek.
You saw him?
I saw him. He was still in hospital. He was still in an induced coma. But I saw him walking through the door into the conservatory and out of the conservatory door. And he wasn't wearing what he'd gone into hospital. He'd gone into hospital wearing a jogging suit thing. But when I saw him, he had a pair of jeans and an aviator jacket on, which were items of clothing that he owned.
Yeah.
And he just walked away. And it was then that I thought, he's gone. But he was still here. He was still physically here.
But he was letting you know he was going.
It must have been. I mean, I'm not a person who sees ghosts or even. Yes, I believe in the paranormal, and I do believe that things happen. But I think it's greatly exaggerated in a lot of occasions, you know.
Yes.
But and I went back to the hospital, and I was then told that they were going to turn off the equipment that was keeping him alive. Basically, he was on dialysis and heart medicine and this and that. He was on all sorts of things. And they did turn everything off because he wouldn't be able to sustain his life without help. And his heart stopped after half an hour, just sort of 5 minutes or so into the 4th of January.
Your heart must have been wrenched out.
Oh, I was in shock.
Yeah.
You don't absorb. You don't absorb the reality of, or at least I didn't. I couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept it at all. It was just, it wasn't real. It was as though I was living in a parallel universe, you know, sort of there's this thing happening, but here's me, I'm at home and Derek's on the road.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was the way that it was, you know, so that was the way I felt at that time. And of course, it was only a few days later that everybody started talking about the coronavirus, wasn't it? That's how it started off. And all the symptoms were, Derek had the classic symptoms.
Yeah.
People were shown on the television in bed, in induced comas.
Not only
everything.
But Gwen, it was really there was a couple of unfortunate timings in this whole thing. Okay, so it was around Christmas, and you were all looking forward to everything. You were actually on the cusp of Derek's 70th birthday.
Yes.
Which he wanted to make. He was looking forward to that, wasn't he?
Oh, he absolutely was. Yes, we had plans for a big party, and the year 2020, he said that was going to be his last year of touring and working, and he was going to retire. But he died on the 4th, and he would have been 70 on the 27th of January. So he missed his 70th by 3 weeks.
So your world is turned upside down. And a few days later, the whole world as we knew it, and we're still recovering from it, I think. We're still traumatized to some degree, turned upside down.
Yeah.
So, a final, just on that, I want to, we've addressed that, and I think it's at the start we should have done that rather than the end, because I want to end on a high on this whole story, as I said to you. Without it sounding kind of mawkish, have you any subsequent signs since, do you think, or communications from Derek, or is that
Not a huge amount. There was one occasion when I was peeling some vegetables in the kitchen, and he stood next. When I say he stood next to me, you know when you feel as though somebody's there?
Sure.
And you turn around to say to them whatever. I had that feeling. I turned around, but he wasn't there. Or at least I couldn't see anything, but I definitely had the feeling that he had been stood next to me on that occasion. There have been occasions when the dogs have been looking into the living room and wagging their tails and, all these classic things. But do I get the feeling that he's around here all the time? No, but I'm sure that he is. I don't disbelieve that he has just shuffled off this mortal coil and gone elsewhere and never to be seen again. But I can remember a medium saying to me, sort of when I said, if he'd only just show himself to me, I could only see him, the medium said, were you clairvoyant before Derek died? And I said, well, no, I wasn't. And what makes you think that you might be clairvoyant now,
Yeah.
And that sort of brought it home to me.
You should have said to her, you tell me, you're the psychic.
Yeah, but yes. So I'm sure he is here.
Yes.
I had somebody come along. They asked actually, and I agreed with what are they called? EVP. Recording.
Yes.
EVP,
electronic voice phenomena.
Yes. And they came in, and largely there was nothing but in one room where Derek had a snooker table there, and it has a wooden floor, and there was a definite sound of somebody walking in leather-soled shoes. Derek always wore leather-soled shoes across the floor, and the merest breath of the word Derek. And those two little things were the only things. Nowhere else, nowhere in the house, there was nothing at all, just those two small things that were picked up with EVP equipment.
Wow. Well, he's still around. I always got the sense.
Oh, yes.
I got the sense from him anyway. He was never, anytime I listened to him, particularly, remember he had his own little kind of podcast radio show thing. I used to love that.
He did, yes.
And I genuinely listened to that all the time, Gwen. But I always got a sense of it's all bigger than just this. It's an expanse, whatever existence is. It was bigger than Derek, and he knew it, and he'd say it.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Because as you might remember, of course, I'm not telling you your business, you tell me, but I know he was into, say, meditation as well. So he was into the whole mind,
yes,
as
he
a
was.
concept.
Yes,
Mm.
yes. He had a room in the house that he used and kept very quiet, and that's where he used to meditate, and he used to play music.
Lovely.
Spiritual music.
I think it was around, did you remember, I heard him say one time it was around 11 o'clock most nights. That was his time. And he said even if he was at a show, he would try and get home to be at home in that room at 11 o'clock.
Yes, and when he was at home, I mean, it wasn't when he used to travel far and wide, as you know, but when he was at home, he would meditate. Yeah.
Right, so let's move on to the next stage. But just before I do as well, how about a little bit about yourself? What's your own background? Where did you hail from originally, and what's your story?
Well, I'm from Liverpool. I spent my time working in lawyers' offices, and I'd been married before, as Derek had been married before.
Yeah.
I had a daughter, Derek had a son. We got together in the mid-'80s when I think I was in my mid-30s. Derek was a couple of years younger than me. Both our marriages had fallen apart, and it went on from there. We married about 10 years later in 1995, moved to, year prior to getting married, we moved to the Southport area. I'm still here. And Derek, when I first met him, wasn't a full-time medium or any such thing. He used to coach. He had a footballing background. He used to do coaching in sports centres, this sort of thing.
He had a footballing background. I think he had something to do with the Cup itself, Liverpool Football
yes,
Club.
He did.
Let's not undersell the guy. Yeah, I mean, as a schoolboy as well, I think, yeah?
He was,
yeah.
Yes. He was headhunted, apparently, when... and I mean, this is from his mother. It's not from Derek himself. She said he was an extremely good footballer, but there were an awful lot of good footballers around at the time. Sure. A lot of them on the Liverpool side were internationals, and he really didn't stand a chance.
But he had a knee injury,
coming through. That was out in Australia.
Oh, right.
He was married. He went with his wife and his son to Australia and played for UFC Lions.
Did you meet him? Did you meet him growing up at any stage at all? Would you ever have crossed paths?
He said that we did. I don't remember. In our youth, we used to inhabit the same nightclubs.
Right.
And he said that at one time I had a second job behind the bar in a nightclub. And he said that he met me and spoke to me then, but I don't remember. I take his word for it.
Oh, those footballer guys, huh? They were full of themselves back then anyway.
Well, they absolutely were, and that's why I wanted nothing to do with the Everton and the Liverpool footballers that used to come into the clubs, because they were, yes, full of themselves.
Yeah, well, so time moved on. You became an item, if my research is correct, around 1985 as such. And then, I suppose, you're in the kitchen one day and he says, well, I have something to tell you, love. I know this bloke called Sam, like, he's playing footy with the John Buffy now. I can feel it, like, in the Aussie. But,
No, he was very secret about
I'd say he was. Yeah.
The spiritual side of his life, and certainly didn't tell me about it.
Did he break it to you gently, Gwen?
Yeah, but it took about 6 months.
To sink in.
He hooked me in before he told me. It was a conversation as, do you believe in tarot cards? And at that point, I'd always been fascinated by the paranormal, and once or twice I'd gone and had my cards read, with girls from the office and this sort of thing. And yeah, so I said,
Gwen, tell us about Mr. Flynn. It was all on the cards.
Flynn.
Him. Tell us about Mr. Flynn.
Oh, everybody was terrified of Mr. Flynn. He was what I now know as a medium. I mean, in those days I would have referred to him as a fortune teller. Yeah, I'd gone with some people from the office to this girl's house. She was having Mr. Flynn. And for the princely sum of £5, we all had our cards read.
Right.
And he did actually, some of the stuff I couldn't understand, but curiously it did become relevant. You're expecting things that you're told to happen straight away, but they don't. It can take years. And I was married at the time to somebody else. And he told me that this initial D, and it'd have a great bearing on my life, and the Mediterranean, red roofed white houses and all this sort of thing. And I think this guy, it's a waste of money. I've wasted me £5. But he definitely began to figure. And of course, we spent a lot of years going. We bought a house in Spain and spent an awful lot of years going there and had some very happy memories.
And
as did the rest of the family.
I think Derek used to say to you, it has no time frame.
No.
I mean, predictions have no time frame as such. They, no,
that's absolutely true. But I didn't know a thing about mediumship, about spiritualism, about the paranormal. It was just ghost stories and getting your cards read.
And speaking of ghost stories and stories in general, we are here with Gwen, widow of Derek Acorah, and the book is out, and I love it. I'm not just saying that, okay? Because I'm kind of prejudiced anyway. I love Derek, right? Mary loves Dick and all that stuff, right?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I know. But there was another one, he didn't refer to. He actually said, sorry, I have to lower the tone, right? I saw Derek being interviewed before. No, I won't. I won't lower the tone, right? Will I? Will I, Gwen? Anyway, he said, so everyone knows Mary loves Dick, right? Well, once Derek was out on location and he walked into this, I don't know if it was an old courthouse or something, and he looked up on the balcony, and you remember Derek, he would just shoot from the hip, and he'd go, that man up there is being tossed off.
That's right. Yes, that was at the Spirit Inn.
Is that right, yeah?
In close to Abergavenny, I think it is, in Wales.
Oh, my.
And they used to hang the people because it was an old courthouse.
Yeah.
Hanging Judge Jeffries. They used to hang them by pushing them over the banister, and yes, Derek loudly proclaiming, and he tossed him off.
And I'm sure, there's so much in this. Let's just say the book is called Haunted and Hallowed, right? And it's the Derek Acorah memoir by Gwen and Derek Acorah. And I kept dropping big hints to my missus that I want you to see my Christmas stocking, right? And sure enough, he turned up.
There it was.
It turned up. And there it was. And I have to be honest with you, it's better than I thought it would be. Right?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the way people have a kind of vanity project. That's, Gwen. People say, I'll have a go, I'll put the book out. But no, this book is...
It was definitely not a vanity vanity project.
I think...
And I don't think it would have ever got written if it hadn't been for a certain person.
I feel a blonde wig coming on. Or maybe a genuine blonde tresses coming on. No, I don't. In fact, I'm going to put them on hold for quite a while because the story continues. So in the middle of all this kind of revelation that Derek had these powers, to you it was manifested in these visits to like the spiritual movement as it was back in the late 1970s, 1980s, early 1980s.
Yes.
What were the spiritual movements as such? Are these people sitting around going knock once for yes, twice for no, or what's going on there?
No, it wasn't like that. I mean, it may have been years ago, but certainly when I started going to spiritualist churches with Derek, it was very much like the prayers and the hymns, and a medium would demonstrate mediumship, giving messages out to the people that were in attendance. In those days, there were very few, a dozen or so people there, but as spiritualism and mediumship and psychics became more accepted, I suppose.
Yes.
The congregations grew. I don't know what they're like. It's years and years since I've been to a spiritualist church. I don't know what they're like now, but yeah, no, it wasn't not once, yes, and twice.
Oh, and I think back then as well, they were known as a seer. A seer.
Yes, an oracle.
Oracle,
a seer. And
I'll chuck some names at you then, okay? So Lillian Starr.
Yes.
Was she a medium or a seer or whatever?
No, absolutely. She was a medium and a very good medium, and she used to demonstrate mediumship in the Liverpool spiritualist churches, and she was the one that told me that I wouldn't have a very good time being married to a medium.
Well, you can tell her, it was a ride anyway, so it was great. And this whole story. Lillian Starr as well. How many stars are there in Liverpool? I mean, was she anything to Ringo, do you think? Or Freddie?
No relation whatsoever to Freddie Starr, because, of course, Freddie Starr's name wasn't Starr.
No.
No relation whatsoever.
Well, and she wasn't anything to Ringo.
No.
This conversation has gone bizarre. Okay, that's just me being a big idiot, as we say here in Ireland. So, when it came to these spiritual, Derek was big into them. What would your own philosophy be, Gwen, about the spiritual movement? Is it an attainment, or is it about getting material things? What would you think?
I think that both could apply. I think some people go into it thinking that they're going to make an awful lot of money, and others don't want to. They do it for nothing because they love it so much. They love communicating with spirit. So I think that all posts are covered as far as that's concerned.
And did they ever get a bit clannish or political at all in their
yes.
Oh, really?
Yes, definitely. The committees, Derek hated committees. Well, when I say hated, that's too strong a word, but he disliked the committees because they were very cliquey, and you had to be chums with the committee if you wanted to get anywhere. And that's why he stopped going to the churches, and he refused to demonstrate in any of the churches in Liverpool because they'd given him a hard time when he was up and coming.
But one day he shows up with you in Lancaster, and in the manner of the lotto saying it could be you, a lady called Gloria Duthie says, it should be you, Derek. You should be up here on the platform doing the work of spirit.
That's right, yes. That was the following week was the first time that he'd stepped up on the platform in a spiritualist church because Gloria gave him the courage to do so. I mean, he had been working, doing readings for people and getting paid with words as originals and this sort of thing. Yes, it was Gloria that first encouraged him and asked him to go to various different churches with her and join her on the platform.
He took to it like a duck to water.
He did. He loved it.
But initially, I think, did the nerves get to him? Were you with him on his first?
Oh yes, he was. He was very nervous. Yes, he tried desperately to get me to turn the car around when he was actually going to Lancaster to do his first demonstration on the platform. Yeah, he was very, very nervous. But once he'd done that first one, he was fine.
Yeah,
he was fine. I'd heard other mediums say that initially they are nervous of giving off what they receive because they're afraid of somebody saying, "No, what a load of rubbish."
Right.
I suppose it's only that they gain the nerve as people are accepting of what information they come across with.
I think Derek is trying to communicate with us there in the background all night. You can hear that. Is that a police or an ambulance or something?
Probably be an ambulance because the road's quite a way away, but it's open field, so sound carries. And I live roughly between Ormskirk and Southport hospitals, and they're often doing transfers and this sort of thing.
A break for ads. I need to tell you this. As I said, this is more of a... I want to just say this to you. When Derek passed, I never, ever did anything like this before. And I don't take it personally that I didn't get a response, because I'm sure you had a deluge of and an avalanche of mail, right? But I just had to write how I felt. I sent it to you, and in my own little handwriting. So it's somewhere. It's probably in the bin at this stage.
Oh, no.
I wrote.
No. It'll still be there. And if I'm honest, I have yet to go through
all
the letters and the messages, and the text messages are still there unopened, and emails. Yeah. And I've yet to go through them. Well,
maybe
it'll be a huge undertaking.
Yeah, maybe someday, and maybe not as well. Maybe it's just leave well enough alone. So look, the other thing is, so he kind of got a bit of he made his own break with your help. You were still working at the time, and he was doing jobs as well. And then you had a little premises.
Yes, in Wavertree, which is a suburb of Liverpool, yeah.
Right, and people used to go there for readings.
They did.
Yeah, and out of the blue, it was going okay.
Yes, it was going fine.
It was going fine. But...
Yeah, it was, but it was in the suburb, and we had this idea that because he was absolutely inundated with people wanting to make appointments with him. So we thought that maybe in the Liverpool city centre would be easier for people to travel to, because if they were coming from out of town, to go into the city centre was simple on a bus or a train or driving or whatever. But to find the way into a suburb, it wasn't quite so easy. So, yeah, we moved his office from Wavertree to Liverpool city centre on Victoria Street.
But wasn't a point reached when, well and all as it was going, Derek indicated to you that it was getting too much?
Oh, yes, there was that point, and that's how we both ended up with our certificates in hotel management.
A pub manager, yeah? Very good.
Yes. Oh, I still have my certificates there.
Fantastic.
Assuring everybody that I can change a barrel and deal with real ale and all this sort of thing.
Yeah, but I believe when Derek did end up managing a pub, it was one of those pubs where if you didn't have a knife on you, they gave you one on the way in the door. That's
right, yes. When he was training,
yeah,
he was at a pub that was... sort of really nice. And then, of course, he moved into a tougher pub in a tougher area and didn't like it one bit.
There was a lady, I think, out of her gourd one time at a table I was reading. I don't want to give all your book away, by the way. We leave plenty of your book. But I think she was just... A scouser was soused on something, right? And she was like...
Yeah.
And he tried to give her assistance. And there was a kind of drug problem in the area with people selling drugs and stuff. And
there was,
I think that was enough for Derek at that point.
Yeah, it was a really tough area. There were a lot of drug problems. And yes, it was that incident that caused him to think twice and realise that maybe working with spirit was... probably a better option than...
but the question... sorry, Gwen. The question is, though... I shouldn't have interrupted you there, sorry. The question is, though, why did he give it up in the first place? Because
he couldn't... It was involving a chap who committed suicide, and he, unfortunately, took his 2 children with him. And Derek had seen this guy for a reading, and he could see something bad happening in the future, and suspected that would be sort of what it was. And fast forward a year, the guy came back to him, and Derek said, you really, really must not do what you're planning on doing. And when what the guy did, obviously, he killed himself and his 2 children, and his wife the guy's wife came to see Derek, and that's how Derek found out what had happened. And he just couldn't deal with it because he hadn't been able to stop the tragedy.
Yes.
And he felt that he should have been able to stop the tragedy. But I think he realised that you can't
Absolutely not.
alter anything.
Absolutely not.
Nobody can change anything. What is meant to be, the person decides it will be a decision that they make, and no matter what anybody says to them, regardless as to who they are, they'll do it if they get so badly depressed.
But Derek had sensed that, and that's why it had all cooled down on his front, and he wanted to try and make a new start with the pub and what have you.
Yes,
but then that fell through. The calling of spirit was always so strong. You continued on. There were lots of platform work for you there, and theatre work with guest star appearances by the Salvation Army at times and Jehovah's Witnesses.
That's right. Yeah.
The end of the world is nigh,
Derek.
and it's all Derek's fault.
Oh yes, they'd be outside the theatres handing out leaflets and saying that the people were going in to see the devil, and oh yes, it was funny. In those days, it used to be, sort of a demonic thing. Nowadays, it's people saying there's no such thing as mediums. They're all frauds. They're all fakes. They're all this. They're all that. I think the Salvation Army have given up.
Yeah, they failed to recruit him into their ranks anyway, for sure. And,
they certainly did.
And there was others outside shouting, "Jesus loves you, but we don't."
That was right. That was when I was in a dressing room, and they somehow or other knew. Maybe there was only one dressing. I can't remember, but yeah, they sang and chanted and were shouting to me, "Jesus loves me, but we don't."
But Derek had other things on his mind. He seemed to, at one stage, experiment with his hair. And do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, people can read the book.
Yes. Maybe they should. We leave that. Let's just say Goldilocks.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
So life goes on, and suddenly he gets a break on radio. Is that correct? Yes, he did. It was Lancashire Radio and Red Rose Radio were the first two stations that he guested on, and then he wrote his first book, and I thought it was a good idea to sort of send out press packs to publicise this book to radio stations and such like, and James Whale got in touch and invited Derek down to London to the studio one Sunday evening and a guest on the James Whale show. The recently departed James Whale.
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
the notorious James Whale.
Well, the notoriously
terrified the life out of him.
Yeah, we can't speak ill of the dead, but we would say that abrasive might have been a description at times. However, Derek's charm came into play, and not only that, his mediumship came into play because he managed to land the whale, so to speak.
He did. He absolutely did. Yes, he became very good friends with James, and it was a weekly date for 2-3 years until James unfortunately succumbed to kidney cancer.
Yes.
And he had to take time out while he recovered from that. And of course, by the time he had recovered and he wanted Derek back, Derek was too busy. He couldn't do it. So that's where it came to an end.
It's important to mention, there might even be a misconception out there that Most Haunted was the making of Derek Acorah, but Derek Acorah, it's too late to take it back, Gwen. But the point I'm making is he was well established.
Absolutely.
Did he have Out and About with Derek Acorah as well? Was that like a TV show or something? Did he have a program called Out and About or something, or Predictions? Or
Predictions with Derek Acorah. He'd been on on Granada Breeze. He'd done Psychic Zone, Psychic Lifetime, Predictions with Derek Acorah. He'd guested on various different television programs. He had regular radio slots. He was filling theatres. And when he was in Granada Breeze, Yvette Fielding had a program called Simply DIY or something like that. And where she did the sticky back plastic
Big
thing.
time.
Absolutely, yes. And she used to, Derek and I smoked, and Yvette smoked at the time. We'd bump into each other on the steps of the outside on the steps of the studio. And she said that her husband had devised this program and they were looking for a medium. Would Derek do the honours on this pilot program?
And where did that take place?
He said,
the pilot was Michelin, was it? Or?
Yes, it was Michelin Priory.
Okay.
Michelin Priory. Yeah, down south. Yeah, and so one Saturday Yvette collected us and down we went to Michelin Priory and did the investigation, and it all went very well. Came back home and they kept in touch with us, and they were trying to sell the program. And I think it was November when, because a lot of people turned them down because the paranormal wasn't programming that seemed to be popular at the time. But yeah.
How did Derek feel that kind of period between the pilot and the commissioning of the show? Did he have any thoughts on working with Carl and Yvette, or?
No, not really. I don't think he thought that it would happen. You know, sort of he was busy. He was getting on with his own life. They get in touch. Carl used to phone up and spend hours talking to Derek. And then in the November, it was commissioned, and it was at that point what Derek said to me, I don't really want to do it.
He said to you he didn't want to do it. Yeah?
Yeah.
What was that? Was that an inkling, or what was that?
I don't know. I don't know whether it was some sort of premonition or whatever, but he wasn't keen. And I said, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You know, so they seemed to be nice people, because they were nice people in those days.
Yes.
They were nice people, very amenable, funny, good company, fine. Yeah, so November it was commissioned, and then we heard that the first filming of the first programme would be at Chillingham Castle in January of 2002.
So there you had places like the Ostrich Inn.
Yes.
A lighthouse as well. Was there Souter Lighthouse? Or?
Souter Lighthouse, yes. There was Culzean Castle. Gosh, I can't remember.
Would you turn up enthusiastically to these places, Gwen? Because I know you believe in the paranormal as such, but whereas like it was Derek's kind of DNA or his nervous system, you really were the lady in the background, probably the long-suffering lady in the background. We don't give you enough credit, you know. You were a great couple. You can see, even with photos of the two of you, you were a sound couple. And he may have had all this talent and mediumship, etc., but you were, and I don't mean to patronize you, you were his rock. And that comes across. So you'd be out there in some of these locations, probably kind of half interested, freezing your knickers off, probably, if you pardon the expression, right? In some of these, because I've worked in television in my time. It's not everything that it's cracked up to be. You know, you get into a van, you've got a crew with you. Yeah. Some people are some people are hungover, some people are in a bad mood, some people are light and flighty because they don't know any better. You really were the power behind that whole throne.
I believed in supporting him. I mean, I used to drive him, and in those days, I used to drive him to the theatres. I used to drive him everywhere. We worked together in different capacities. And yes, I used to like going to these different locations because I love old houses and I love castles, and that was the bit that I liked.
Yes,
it was more. I was more interested in sort of seeing these places than sort of sitting waiting for a ghost to. I've got to say that there were occasions when there was paranormal activity.
Okay.
but it was subtle and it wasn't exciting enough.
Like?
Oh, it's difficult to remember, but there would be an occasion where there was an unexplained sound or an unexplained movement or an unexplained shadow. Not all the time, but there were occasions when anomalous events took place, should I say. It wasn't all theatre for the television programme, but there were a lot of things that were taken as being paranormal, but they actually weren't.
But as well, you just touched on something there I can identify with. When I used to look at Most Haunted, I'm just saying it to you now as a punter, and I'd often say to my wife, and be there with a glass of wine, and I'd say, God, I'd love to do that. And the reason for it was, just as you've said, Gwen, it was the historic nature of a lot of these places.
Yes.
Whether you saw something or not, the fact was you are in a building that's probably 400 years old, has had to have seen life and death and all kinds of things play out from history in it. And it wasn't a bad gig, really, was it? Because you'd go out on these places, you'd have a nice dinner somewhere probably, and you'd get a few bob for it. Nothing mad, as we all know. But it was great. There was a time as well, do you remember, was it you that had the cradle rocking? Was that one of those subtle?
Yes, that was Athelhampton Hall.
Wow.
And they were filming in a bedroom, and I was standing halfway up the stairs, and I could see into the room that was next to the one where they were filming.
Yes.
And there was a cradle in that bedroom, and it suddenly started swaying. Now, I knew there was nobody in that room. I knew it. I think it was Carl noticed this cradle swaying. Of course, a big deal was made of it, and it was only after really that I thought, I wonder whether the floorboards run,
could
and
happen.
the movement of the room next door made the cradle rock. And when they were on the recce before Derek arrived at the place, did they notice that this thing would happen? Was it all planned? Was it actually paranormal activity? Your mind asks lots and lots of questions, especially it asks questions it probably wouldn't ask if you'd been treated fairly. But if somebody doesn't treat you fairly, then you start questioning.
Okay. Plus, as well, though, as you made some good relationships or good friendships. Like
Absolutely.
Richard Felix. I have to throw out name.
Yes.
He's lovely, isn't
Good old Richard.
Yeah.
He's fabulous. Richard is fabulous. And Jason Carl, he was on the first series. Yes, we made lots of friends and remain. They still keep in touch with me, even though Derek's gone. But yes, we did. Some people we never heard from again.
Well, that's life, though, isn't it?
But so that happens with everything, doesn't it?
And of course, Richard Felix wasn't too well recently as well, around this time last year.
That's right, yes. But he's fine now.
Yeah, he is. I saw him recently.
Yeah. He's absolutely fine now.
Well, they can do wonders these days, Gwen, because it was a heart issue he had, and I'll be honest with you, I had one myself. I had a quadruple there a few years back.
Oh, really?
7 years ago, yeah. And so, you just take it day by day. Felix will be a bit older than me now, be in his early 70s, but he's looking great because there's another paranormal team called Eire based in Ireland, and I know Anthony Kerrigan was over there during the week, and some photos on with nice pictures of Anthony and his son, and you can just tell like Richard is being so nice to him. And by the way, I just have to say as well about being nice to people. A couple of things struck me about Derek, right? When I used to watch him on Most Haunted was just, there was a bit of theatrics there. I loved it because you would get into the whole experience with Derek. I remember watching him one day and he was coming up the stairs. Now, anybody else would just walk up the stairs, but your Derek came up the stairs and he was doing the 180-degree scan, and it was something's going down here, the residual energy, and as well, do you remember that lovely ring he used to have? The big ruby red ring. Do you remember that?
Yes. Well, I've still got it.
You've still got it, pride of place. But so that struck me about him was he would bring you whether you liked it or not. And look, you've got to have a little bit of showmanship in there. You've got to be this business about fakery or whatever. You're not going to have a television show unless you can do a bit of the genuine mediumship and a little bit of spice as well. And he brought that whole historic feel, the possessions or whatever. But and the regional accents would come out and stuff, and it wasn't all baloney. And you know what, Gwen? I don't mean to offend at all. Even if it was, it's television. You are not going to keep viewers unless you can get them to watch something of interest. He was like no other medium they had on that show. I liked kind of the David Wells coupling. I kind of liked that. I thought that kind of worked. I wasn't too gone on a lot of the others. This is what gets me about the whole Yvette thing. My interpretation is there might have been a degree of professional envy there or something, and there was no need for it because everybody complimented, especially those early shows. Everybody worked together. But anyway, typical me, I'm going off the point. So he was pure entertainment. The other thing, which is often overlooked, I thought, just as a viewer, I thought he was immensely polite. He was,
yes, he always was.
Do you mind, Ivy, or do you mind if, is it okay if... Now, they're small things, but if you're of a certain generation, they're very important things. He would give people their place. He would ask permission. He never seemed to... it wasn't just a, here I am, and I'm the medium, and you love me or leave me, there's nothing like me in the room.
No,
he was very human, and I loved him. And you know where I was? The day he passed, here's the comment, right, that brought me the news of his passing. I was standing by the sink in my kitchen. The radio was on, and the presenter was flustered. In his own words, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "Good God," he said, "there's so much news in the world at the moment, and it seems that all anybody's interested in is this guy, Derek Acorah." Now,
it did go global.
It did. He did go viral and global. All these things, but that's how that was a blunt instrument to me. I mean, that's how I found out, and I was shattered. But at the same time, it was showing the impact that his presence had. Anyway, so you did, as I said, pop over this end of the places like, some people might pronounce it Leap, but it's known as Leap Castle.
That's right.
And how was that for you? Because everyone has a Leap Castle story.
Oh, I love Leap Castle. It's such a fascinating place. It does have its own eeriness, and it's definitely a place where ghosts exist.
Yeah,
it really is. Because I took a photograph of one, or what I believe.
Oh, and what was the attire of that aforementioned photograph? What did the person have in it? The figure have in it?
A kilt type.
You don't know where the breeze comes from, but you sure know where it's going.
And like a plaid over the top part, and a cone helmet.
Oh. A
cone-shaped helmet, and sort of long, straggly hair, and it's striding from the door to the stairs. Everybody was filming upstairs. Now, I didn't see this.
Yes.
But I was in the dark. There was only the log fire burning. And I used to take photographs, just random photographs in places to see whether I'd picked anything up. So I was shocked when I saw this figure on one of the photographs that I eventually downloaded onto a computer. Because it was there were no photographs on phones in those days.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was quite shocked. And I showed it to Carl, and he said, "That's Sean, the chap that owns
the guy who owns it, yeah.
Leap Castle." But Sean didn't wear what looked like a conical metal helmet. He wore a flat cap.
Yes.
He certainly didn't have a leather kilt and a plaid on. You see, I don't know what the indigenous dress of the Irish is.
Yes.
So I don't know whether it is something that fits in to the history of Ireland or whether it doesn't. I don't know, but that's what this figure was wearing. Yes, it was dismissed as being Sean, the owner.
And anyway, you moved on. Did you do Charleville Castle at one stage?
Yes, in Tullamore, is it?
Tullamore, yeah. I think there was little girls or something that might have fallen down the stairs or off a parapet or something there. That was the story I think I used to hear.
I can't remember what these stories were. I do remember that there was some sort of dark rooms, small rooms, and this sort of thing. but I spent most of the time on that filming because I didn't watch the program, when it was aired. We neither of us did. So I don't know the content of some of the filming because I spent most of the time in the crew room of that castle. Yeah.
And isn't it interesting as well? You don't watch the shows, but at the same time, Gwen, this probably what I'm about to say bittersweet. But when most people lose a relative, etc., they might have a handful of photos or a few bits of video, etc. You have a whole body of work to look back on because it's all on the internet now as well, and smart TVs and what have you. Do you ever look at any of the old programs? Not necessarily just Most Haunted, but any of the rest of them, because there's plenty out there. I found a lovely interview, which I think was filmed in your house, going way back. A guy came over and Derek had this beautiful front room, I have to say. It looked, well, a room. And right at the end of the interview as well, I mean, Derek finished so on cue that the bell, I could tell you used to have a clock that go ding, ding.
That's right.
Literally, if you watch this interview.
A grandfather clock is in the hallway.
And literally as Derek finished, it just like chimed. It was really like, it was military precision timing. So yeah, but do you ever look at any of the programs at all? Or
I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't. I've got everything I think that Derek ever filmed on DVDs or whatever. Yeah. But they're still in the cellophane wrappers. They've never been opened.
Well, I kind of understand that as well, I do. And by the way, you mentioned Tullamore. That was the first kind of indication that at times there was a bit of a coolness in the relationship with, Carla and Yvette's company was called Antics Production. Now, there's a clue in the name.
That's right.
Oh,
that was, we were, our last day in Ireland was St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Before we were travelling home to England, and yes, it was definitely frosty. Not between Derek and I and such like, but we detected a definite frostiness between the crew.
Yes.
And Antics. Yeah, and that was when it became evident that Jason was no longer in favour as well.
All right. Did he dirty his bib somehow? That's his story to tell.
I don't know. Yeah. I really don't know. In their eyes,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you see, the other thing is, Gwen, on the understanding side, I know myself, in broadcasting, it's very hard. It's like rounding up cats or something, and there's all these little interplays and also, believe it or not, generational. Okay, you might have been a bit older than the crew, but also Carl and Yvette were a bit older than the crew. There can be issues going on, and
yes, definitely. Yvette is the same age as my daughter,
right?
Sort of. So we didn't tend to gel. Should I say? Is that a good word? With the crew and we worked with them and we were friendly with them. Sure. And they were, sort of
professional.
But we weren't sort of friends as such,
No,
we didn't
but
meet up and go for dinner together and all this sort of thing.
There's always a but with me, and here it is. Do you know what, though? So that early series, maybe series or episode 3, 4, whatever the series were, or series 3, say, you guys, this was kind of pop star stuff for satellite television, wasn't it? It took off like a rocket.
Oh, yeah, it did. And nobody was more shocked than Derek and I.
Yeah.
Yeah, although Derek was successful before,
sure,
Most Haunted definitely sort of boosted that success, and it would be wrong to say otherwise. Because once upon a time he was, sort of known, but he became extremely well known. Yeah. The fact that his death created such a furore proved that was down to him appearing on Most Haunted.
And every cloud has a silver lining, though, because it came to him, he was mature in life at the time, so he wasn't going to lose. And he had you, of course, his stalwart, and he described you as his stalwart and his rock behind him. So it was a nice place to be for a mature couple as well. But as I said, it did take off, and so much so that if you might remember, do you remember the three mediums, Colin Fry, Tony Stockwell? That was the limo life, wasn't it?
Yes.
They arrived at the theatre. I got the vibes. I could really, if you really want to see Derek in love with his craft, I think look at that show. It's on YouTube there somewhere. The Three Mediums.
Yeah.
He rocked that stage that night.
Oh, yes, that was the Hammersmith Apollo.
Well,
and they filled it.
Yeah, they filled it. But, I think it was a recognition of it becoming, as I say these days, a thing. The paranormal was suddenly a thing. And these were like these three, I don't know, princes, whatever. And the dicky bows and the formal wear and everything. Yeah. It just worked. It was a lovely time for you.
It was a fabulous time, and I think people look back on those days and think that I can do that, but those days are gone, and it's no reflection on the abilities of people, but it will never happen again. It just won't happen again. Derek and Colin and Tony, to a degree, they were at the right place at the right time.
Yes, and you know why it won't happen again either, Gwen, because people have the attention span of a gnat now through the likes of TikTok, etc. It's terrible. It's really what I still love about Most Haunted, like Saturday night, whatever, kids are in bed, glass or two of wine, going to that little place where you're not quite out of it, but you're nice, the Scottish have a word for it, nicely mogred, right? And then Derek would start his antics, pardon the pun, with, you will get away from me, woman. And I was in another place with that programme. That's what I said. So look, without making a big meal out of it, as we say in Ireland, there was a bit of a snot on at times. You could feel an atmosphere, right? Now, you can put that down to generational. You can put it down to a lot of things. But the speculation was, which I can't get over, I can't get my head around this as a business person, right, is that there might have been a bit of professional envy insofar as Derek's profile was quite high. But I mean, why I can't get my head around it was, I don't know whether it was an insecurity thing or what. Yvette's profile was quite high. Richard Felix's profile. It was a beautiful soup that all worked. And, business is good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. What was this was this a jealousy thing? Yes, I would say that it was. I would say that there was resentment because Derek ended up being talked about it as being the star of the show, and I think it was an awful rub for them that he was the star of the show that they'd created, and maybe they thought that Yvette should be the star, but the audience choose what the audience choose. Sort of Derek didn't go out to steal anybody's limelight. Derek was just being Derek. Yeah, that was the way that he was before, and that's the way that he remained after. Well, again, I'm only speculating, but how can it be? Is this vanity or insecurity? You've got somebody who was already, back in the day, like Blue Peter presenter, which is high profile enough. Okay, the thing peaked in the 70s probably, but still, she was there as a well-known presenter, and Carl was an accomplished filmmaker. They're essentially.
He was a cameraman, not a filmmaker.
Oh, sorry. Oh, a cameraman, right? A cameraman, right? Well, he was. He was he was a good.
He was very good.
He was very good, and I think is he some kind of a martial arts guy as well? I think
allegedly,
right? But what I'm saying is I can't get my mind around it, is because in my own small way, say when I put together this podcast, I used to think it's about Mark Manning. No, it's not. It's about the people who are on the show. And it doesn't lessen my profile. I am the guy who's brought them together. I produce, and I'm still going to be known by the handful of people who listen to the podcast or the radio, whatever I'm on. I don't need to be the centre of it. I just don't know where it came from.
There were resentments. There were resentments, and it made life uncomfortable working there, and Derek just got fed up, and he said to me, I've had enough. I'm going to resign. I'm going to tell them that, I'm finished. So he phoned his agent. A meeting in Manchester, the Antics office in Manchester was arranged. Richard Wolfe and Claire Hollywood of Living TV came down. So there was Carl, Yvette, Derek, his agent Stuart, Claire and Richard. And Stuart said on Derek's behalf that Derek wanted to resign from Most Haunted. And so that was it. But Richard didn't want to lose Derek because he obviously appreciated that he could draw an audience. So he said, would Derek do one more series of Most Haunted and 3 or 4 more Most Haunted lives? Derek reluctantly agreed. He didn't particularly want to do another series. He wanted to finish at series 5. That was it. He just wanted to draw a line under it. So, yeah, he agreed to do series 6.
The lives as well, they were big, and I think wasn't the very the very first live, was that maybe?
Oh, that was fabulous.
Was that maybe when Derek Starr shone? Was he that kind of king of paranormal then?
Oh,
maybe
it was
that's the genesis.
Fabulous night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fabulous night, I guess. And there was sort of a blue-washed light, and Derek was introduced in after Yvette had sort of said her bit. And when the crowd sort of stood up and sort of cheered and screamed and yelled, I saw Yvette's face.
Oh.
And she wasn't happy.
Oh. So now we're getting to perhaps the origin. Perhaps the origin there is that show, the live. So he agreed kind of under duress. The other thing is, listen, I really sympathise with the situation that he was in. Look, I wasn't there. It's not really for me to say, but I've been in situations, this bloody passive-aggressive thing, right? It's one, these little microaggressions. It's one thing if somebody has a go at you, right? And guys often do it, and then you will try and refute whatever's being said, or you'll have a go back, you'll have a pint afterwards, everyone forgets about it, right? But when it's these little niggly things you can't quite accuse directly, or you're a very unreasonable person, or that's just where my real sympathy comes from.
It was a situation where we were made to feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
We were made to feel uncomfortable, and Carl's attitude changed from being cheery chappy to arrogant.
Really?
Sort of dismissive,
Yeah. I mean,
that sort of thing.
Like Derek even, was Robbie Williams like a mate at one point even, He just knew so many people, and he was loved by so many people. But look, and the only reason I don't really want to get into all that, but I think there was a book written a year or two back, was it Yvette's book herself, and that's where I suppose it certainly was the impetus you needed to get your side out as well. In this book,
I couldn't allow.
Yes,
I could not allow the outright lies that she told in that book, and I will meet her in court any day if she chooses to sue me.
What's in the public domain, kind of, that she said that really upset you or hurt you? Would have hurt Derek?
It was everything. He was egotistical. He was an alcoholic. He was a womanizer. He chased after her, wanting to snog and grope her. He was just a horrible person who wanted everybody to kowtow to him, and that wasn't Derek. That wasn't Derek at all. Derek was a down-to-earth Liverpool guy, and he remained a down-to-earth Liverpool guy who didn't have any huge ego, he was just normal.
It's beyond.
And she's made him out to be a monster. She actually said that her and Carl had created a monster. They didn't.
It's beyond me how Derek managed to do all these things when, as you shared earlier, you were pretty much with him on location. You know, no one's going to mess around with another woman in front of their wife, you know. So, look, I don't know, but you know what, Gwen? What I love about you, without, again, patronising at all, is there's a lovely dignity about you, and you held your powder until, you know, you were kind of provoked into doing the right thing and to defend the name of your husband and, of course, the great entertainer Derek Acorah. So, look, I understand all that, but, you know, as I said at the beginning of this, we need to move on, because was there what? Afterlife after Most Haunted. So some of the things that he got up to was, as you said, Richard Wolfe, who would have been the controller of Living Television.
He was.
He unlike certain other parties, he knew the expression, I don't want to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. He had other plans.
Well, he asked Derek to do another series of Most Haunted whilst he created a programme for Derek on his own, which he did, and it was called Derek Acorah's Ghost Towns.
Yes, is that the one with Danielle Westbrook, or...?
That's right, there was Danielle Westbrook and, what's her name, the pianist, known for a white bikini on.
Wow.
Celebrity.
You don't hear them. You don't hear them telling any odd stories, and you know.
No, because there were no stories to tell.
Oh, we live and we learn. So look, the other thing wasn't the Ghost Antiques show as well?
Oh yes, but that was whilst Derek was part of Most Haunted in the break between filming series 1 and 2, I think, either 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. Derek filmed the Antiques Ghost show. Yeah, that didn't go down well either.
Really? Oh, but you know, the other thing was the books. Do you remember the and I have it. I have the Psychic Adventures of Derek Acorah. I love that book. There was another one as well, I think. I had them all on my Kindle. I love that. I think that might have caused a bit of
7 or 8.
Yeah, oh really? But was there a crossover with Most Haunted and the book's publication? Because the publisher put Star of Most Haunted on the front cover. Well, he was. He was one of them. Did Derek know that? How could Derek have predicted it? Who would have known?
How could he? How could he have predicted it? Indeed.
Yes.
I mean, all this would have been passed by Living Television, and any content in that book had to be passed by Living Television, who owned Most Haunted at that time. Because I believe that when they'd commissioned the programme, they bought the rights as well. So, yeah, we thought it had all been discussed and passed with Antics Productions, but apparently not.
And, you know, the thing is, you know, I think when things like that happen, just keep quiet, you know. Just keep quiet about them and don't get upset by them. And they will pass, you know. So I don't know what the reaction of Carl and Yvette was to the book, but if it said Star of Most Haunted, it probably went down like a French kiss at a family reunion, you know. So,
absolutely.
So listen, as I said, there was lots of afterlife after Most Haunted, and I want to touch on a few things as well. I mean, hey, listen, even before the whole Most Haunted thing as well, didn't the Paranormal Research International or whatever in the States, they had you guys out to LA and what have you, and they came over and turned to England, and this was all totally aside from Living Television. Am I right?
Oh, this was before.
Yeah,
this was way before Most Haunted. This was the late 1998, 99.
Yeah.
Yeah, Derek went over to Los Angeles and he did investigations in Hollywood. He was on E! Entertainment and programs such as that. And then the IPS came over here and did a series of investigations. And they're available on, or they were available on videotape. I don't know now, it's so many years ago. But he wasn't some medium that had just been medium that had just been picked up.
Not at all. Tell me, and you can tell me to mind my own business if you want. Do you get any royalties at all from any of the ventures at this stage? You know, there's so much of it out there. The work, the body of work.
No.
No. Oh, well.
The only thing that Derek gets royalties from to this day is his appearance on Doctor Who.
Oh, Doctor Who! Yeah, he did.
He was on the Army of Ghosts series.
Army of Ghosts.
With Billy Piper and the chap.
That was, that was the episode of Doctor Who, the Army of Ghosts.
Yes, yeah.
And also,
it's blink and you miss him.
Well, with teeth like that, you could have signaled Batman. Which reminds me as well, and I certainly would have hoped you'd got a few bob out of this. Hang on, I just have a premonition coming on. Now, before I ask you about Big Brother, right, which is what I'm going to ask you about. Do you guys you guys, even before the whole thing took off, you loved your holidays and stuff, and you were into cruises. And did it drive Derek bananas when, he'd be on a boat and people were looking for readings? And
people didn't look for readings. They were very kind. I mean, people would always say hello and nice to meet you, and maybe, so would like an autograph, or if they happen to have one of his books, so would he signed. In fact, we were at Petra. We were in front of the treasure house, and this chap came running over saying, Derek Acorah, Derek Acorah. And he pulled a book, one of Derek's books, out of his backpack and said, would you sign this for me? Wow. So it was, but no, generally people were really nice. They chat and say hello and this sort of thing, but he wasn't hounded for reading.
Yeah, I just have a vision of the two of you on a boat, like you can't get away. There's no. By the way, he went down well in Egypt as well, didn't he? I mean, he was highly thought of over there.
Oh yeah, Paranormal Egypt. He did a series of programs. Paranormal Egypt. Yes, that was another fabulous experience, because we just went to places that tourists don't normally go, and into all the tombs, and the eeriest place I've ever been in my life was the Cairo Museum at midnight. Oh, it's an amazing place anyway, but when there's no people around and it's so huge, and you've got these huge, great mummies and whatever they call them, sort of these great carvings.
Yes, hieroglyphics.
Yeah, it was amazing, yeah.
He was asked back, though, wasn't he? I mean, they were very impressed by him. I can't remember the professor or whoever it is, or the chief guy that's there that looks after it.
Sorry, who asked?
Yeah, he's high profile, and I noticed he took to Derek as well.
He did, yes, he did. Yeah. He was the Minister of Antiquities.
Oh, the Minister of Antiquities. I feel like that myself sometimes. I'm 62 this year, Gwen. Am I still young?
It's all right. I'm 78 this year, so don't worry about it.
Oh, my God, you sound good on it. You sound great on it. And sure, it's only, look, it's as I get, I'll be honest with you, Gwen, I used to think, the 40's the new 30 and the 50's the new, and then you get to 60 and you go, no. But it's ridiculous, because I'm sure, like you, at times, the mind doesn't really change. In fact, if anything, I feel younger.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
No, your mind doesn't change. This is the awful. I can remember my dad saying that his mind was, the same as it had ever been, but it's just his body was letting him down, I know. I've got to the stage now where I know exactly what you meant, Dad.
I know. I think back to my own father. He was a military guy. He was a colonel in the Irish Defence Forces. Lovely, lovely man. And indeed, you mentioned Petra in Jordan. That's why I was really interested, because as a kid, I travelled all around the Middle East as part of the United Nations. But he used to say to me in his Tipperary accent, the older you get, the quicker it goes. And the older, because I'd be marking a birthday. I mean, I'm 63 this year, and I remember, your fellow Liverpudlians, the Beatles kind of basically declaring 64 was ancient when I'm 64. Oh, my goodness. Listen, I want to ask you about, and we'll wrap up really soon, I promise you, because I've kept you up. Yeah, God love you. You're probably in your jammies there with the coffee going cold. But I'd love to, I mean this, without it sounding corny, I'd love to give you a big hug, because I think you're wonderful. I think the two of you
Thank you very much.
I mean it. It's genuine, and you were lovely. You were a lovely couple, and I'll share a little bit about why I feel like I do about you shortly. That doesn't sound as dodgy as it sounds, by the way. So look, at the Big Brother came along. I hope there was a bit of a wedge for him in that anyway. It's not all about money, and I know that. But what I loved about him, did he come second in it? Did he, or he was fourth? Okay. Fourth. Well, a stone's throw away from second.
Yes, he was there at the final, which neither of us expected.
Yeah, he was. Not only that, do you know what? He charmed the young people.
Oh, yes, he got on with everybody. He enjoyed himself enormously. He really, really did.
Yeah.
He loved it. And, you know, so you hear people say, oh, it was so dreadful, it was this, it was that, it was the other. Not for Derek, it wasn't. He enjoyed every minute.
He was good fun.
Kept everybody awake snoring.
Oh, did he? Yeah, he was good fun. But I remember, I mean, I kind of dipped in and out of it myself, but I watched it one night, and there was some young fella, almost incredulous. I don't know what contestant it was, or a guest, or whatever they're called, but he was talking about Derek, and he's going, he's lovely. He's like an uncle. It's like, and then Derek would say, residual energy here feels like that sounds Scottish, actually. You know, the residual energy. Like it was like an old famine pit or something that they were filming over. That's what he thought. So look at, I said I'd say some of the reasons that I feel like you about like nobody else I've had on Scary Eire, and it's this. I, as a 50-something-year-old, first of all, I used to love, because there's quite a bit of social media of Derek. You know, he was having a stab at it towards the end, right? So I would get insights into Ray, who is Derek's road manager, also known as Rodders, right?
Yeah.
And
correct.
He had this little series where you basically got a fly on the wall view at Derek's life. And I thought to myself, I like this life. He's in Wales one minute, he's up the M1 the next, he's in Scotland so-and-so. It's a travelling man, it's a bit of a showman. He makes people feel good. I don't get into any kind of negative fakery and all that. I think it's a good living to give people hope. So I'd see this guy who's, you know, he'd be there. The picture I had him of in the studio, right? He had something like a coffee in his hand, a chock-a-doodle. I even remember it, right? That'll show you now that I'm not just making it up about the picture in the studio. He was holding a chock-a-doodle, and he had that, do you remember the white turtleneck and the black jacket? He was always very, very elegant. As I said, the two of you are such a lovely couple. But, you know, he was quite dapper, and the hair was never out of place. And I know he would have, you know, but you'd be well able for it anyway. There would have been female attention around him. But I used to look at this guy going up and down the roadways of the UK with the occasional foray maybe over to a little jaunt over to Spain or whatever to join, say, Colin Fry. And of course, then he had the tuxedo and all the rest of dinner jackets. And I thought, this is great. You know, so I used to get that insight as a 50-something-year. I used to look at it and I'd say, Derek could cheer me up, right? So he'd be on about Rodders, or he'd be sleeping in the car. There's a nice one of him down somewhere in Wales, I think, and he's having a coffee with some guy down there. There's a nice chat. The other thing I used to see was your Facebook lives on Sundays.
Oh, right, yes.
I looked in on them, right? And I know that you were people of a certain age grappling with technology at times, as I am. But you did well on it, right? Because, remember you'd be waiting for the 3, 2, 1, the camera to go? You didn't know whether it was on or not. Right? That's
right. And there were many a time when I'd be on my hands and knees on the floor with my hand on the actual keyboard, trying to do things where Derek was doing everything wrong or not able.
That's right. And I get these little, you're like Darby and Joan, but I get an insight into you, and I'd be waiting on the Sundays, and I knew there was like a zoo, if not a menagerie, out the back, right? There was all kinds of animals. Like a Noah's Ark in there at times, right? So he had the koi fish. Remember, he'd go out for the ciggy. You go out and sit on the end of the pool there. And are the koi still knocking around, or have they gone?
Oh, yes. No, they're still here. Everything's still here.
Are the dogs still alive?
Of course, yes. Yeah.
What breed are they? Well, they're big poodles.
They're standard poodles, yeah. Millie and Merlin.
Oh, he loves
Merlin's
them.
Merlin's sitting looking a bit glum.
Right, now go and get this
Maliciously.
this Irish prat off the line. I want my pedigree chum. But you'd see, Derek, I mean...
Oh, my God, pedigree chum?
Yeah,
it's all chicken for them.
God knows what it is. But anyway, somebody's making money out of it. But there was pictures of Derek, and he'd have the two of them in his arms, like they were his buddies. I used to just love that kind of little window on your life in a wholesome way, Gwen. But I'd look in. Now, the other insight I got was one time you were waiting to go on, and this proved to me, as I said, you were wrestling with technology at times, right? So you weren't going to be in the mood to conjure or make or contrive something up, right? And he was talking to you. You won't even remember this, Gwen, but I'm such an aficionado of the man, right? You were waiting for the camera to come on, and Derek said to you, you said there's atmosphere here tonight or something, isn't there? And he said to you, yeah, they're active. They're around tonight. And he was talking about spirit people, I suppose, or residual energies.
Yeah.
But it was that unguarded moment. I remember thinking, he's not making this up.
Oh, no. There was, unfortunately, an awful lot of comments and chit-chat went out when we were unaware.
Right. Yes. Well, I have to... Sorry you mentioned...
It was all a mistake.
I'm sorry. Now, you walked yourself into this, Gwen, because one of the videos I hold dear is when... You remember he was going through a kind of a trunk of his memories, right? And you were behind him filming. You remember? You know where I'm going with this? And
the most haunted memorabilia thing.
Well, yeah, and he was laughing. He was laughing at his payslip. He said, "Everyone thinks I'm a millionaire. Look at this." But the other thing was, and you had all these little, didn't you have all these little trophies?
Oh yes. I've got tons of stuff, and I really actually must get rid of it all. I've even got the Derek Acorah Ghost Town signpost, which is and all his clothes are still in suitcases, and but all the memorabilia, I don't know what I'm going to do with it actually.
Well, you know what. When he was, if you pardon the expression, rooting in his drawers, right? You were standing behind filming it, and you were saying to him, "Listen, Derek, this is all fine and good, but will you get your big backside out of the way?"
I don't remember that one.
Okay. And also, so very quickly now, we'll wrap it up because I'm after taking far too much of your time. You've been so generous with it. But really quickly, I loved his little radio podcast, Joe. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
And remember he had this thing, you'd play him music and he would have this vision of Sam and himself. Of course, Sam was his spirit guide. And they were going, it was kind of portent in the way. I remember thinking about it after he passed, but he'd be on this journey. He knew he was going somewhere else. They'd go into this room. See, it was like a meditation thing. And I know someone had to sit down and write that out. That's okay. That's well and good. But it was the thought that counts, right? And he'd go into this room where these scribes or whatever would say, "Have you been a good boy or bad?" And they wouldn't necessarily judge you as so, but you'd be called to account. And then he'd go outside and he said, "And there are letters on the wall. I don't know. I can't understand what they say." But this incredible music would be behind. It's really great music. I know you listed in the book, which, by the way, is called Haunted and Hallowed, the Derek Acorah memoir written by Gwen and Derek Acorah, because it's important to say that Derek's own hand is in this book as well. So you got some of the manuscript on a book he was planning, and you've incorporated it beautifully into this book.
A lot has been incorporated. Some hasn't, because I thought it was a bit...
you're right.
Too much.
You make that. You make a good call. And as I said, you were always very, very diplomatic until you were put into a position where you had to really give your side of the account. And tell me, I know he was buddies. Funny enough, talk about being maligned and being parodied and all the rest of it. Sure, David Icke and himself were great buddies.
Yes, they were. Yes, David Icke used to visit Derek regularly when he had his office in Victoria Street in Liverpool, and they kept in touch over the years and often spoke when David was over in America, he'd he'd keep Derek updated with what was going on and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yes, he and David were good friends.
Because David himself has, in his own words, has taken monumental levels of ridicule in his life. But in the words of Adamant, ridicule is nothing to be scared of. And he's thriving now more than ever, because a lot of what David has said has kind of come to pass. But I remember he guessed it on Derek's show, and that was a great episode. And listen, I remember him working on something else as well. Maybe you can talk about it, maybe you can't. Beyond the Grave, was that a project? Did that? It never happened.
Yes.
It looked good. It looked good.
It didn't. It was. Yeah. It was really good. And then the chap that we were doing it with, disappeared with all the footage.
Oh no! And it's not even out there. That's the thing. We can't even pirate it.
No.
Well,
no.
There you go.
I know.
Well, you see, you got to put everything in writing, as you'd know when it comes to merchandise.
Yeah.
We'll say no more.
Yeah.
You got to put it in writing.
Yeah.
And very, very quickly here, as I just move on. So we've talked about the fish, the football. Sure, he was a member. He was with Liverpool anyway as a schoolboy, so he'd know the Bill Shankly thing, which was huge. And as we come to a close here with the lovely Gwen Acorah, I want to just ask you, let me just ask this question first of all. Let's say you're walking down the road and you meet Yvette. Would you have much to say to her?
If I saw her in the distance, I'd probably turn around and walk in the opposite direction.
Right.
Yeah, I would, because I'm not a confrontational person, but I'm not somebody who shies away either.
You don't mess with a Scouse lady, yeah.
I'm not argumentative. I wouldn't argue or shout or scream or any of those things.
Yeah.
But if somebody has some sort of beef over something, I'd rather they say it and talk to me about it.
Of course.
Than chitter chatter behind my back. Go on to sort of Facebook and put these cryptic quotes and all this sort of thing. Well, I'd rather, say it to my face, and then maybe we can clear this matter up.
And be done with it. And we're certainly done on that subject. And also, I know Pathfinder Dogs is close to your heart. You and Derek. Oh, by the way, you used to have some great parties, didn't you? The kind of fans of Derek Acorah and all that. Do you remember him in the kilt? And he flashes in the kilt.
Yes.
That was one. And the other thing I loved, he was about 65 at the time. I know, because I'm so paranoid about my own age. Right? I think he was in Spain, and that song, 'Cause I'm Happy.
Oh, yeah.
Out on the side of the road. That used to just cheer me up. No end.
That was, we weren't actually in Spain when that was filmed.
Right.
We were on the banks of Loch Lomond.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was where that was filmed.
He was in such good form, and you can see the other thing it was the charisma, the people that he'd say he's dancing with. They all loved him, and I know there was some nice dinners there and all the rest of it, and the two of you in your finery, glitterati, whatever. It was lovely being in the court of Derek Acorah, I have to say, Lady Gwendolyn. And look, the other thing is, what do you think his legacy should be?
His legacy, I think, be kind and show a bit of humility. I think that's what his legacy should be, because that was the sort of person he was.
I know. And you know what else? Him and Sam, I reckon, what adventures those two are up to. But also, very quickly, what's life like for Gwen these days? Are you feeling it, or do you ruminate a lot, or are you? I think you're a people person.
Obviously, it's not something that you want to do, but you have to continue on with your life, don't you? I see friends. I go out for dinner. I do normal things. I go on holiday. It's the first time I've been I plan on going on a fortnight's holiday this year. It took me about 4 years to go away the first time, and now I'm going away this year. Yeah, so yes, life carries on, but there's always a bit of me missing somehow.
Of course. But it gets...
Yeah.
I don't think it, necessarily heals, but it gets easier. And also, I think just be aware. Now, there could be a bit of a nuisance, like people like myself or whatever, but just be aware there are so many people who loved Derek, but it's not just about Derek. You must hear it in me. I mean, I loved you guys as a couple. I saw a lot more than just all the spoons flying around the place. To me, you were a nice template for how decent people should be, and good people are scarce, Gwen. Right, and I know the good, the bad, and the ugly. You're one of the good people, and I want to thank you. You're very welcome, and I mean it. So wrap up well, Mrs. Acorah. You are very loved, and you were very generous to give us your time here this evening. Won't you take care of yourself?
I will, and thank you very much. Good
night, darling Gwen. We all love you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, a couple of things over the years, but I've learned... Well, I suppose it's not learned. I've just become accustomed to it, and I think it's kind of, it's maybe it's another sense or something. But often when you go into places, you'll get a feeling for the place, and you'll get a feeling of whether or not it's comfortable. And whatever causes that, who knows what causes that, but we have an intuition, we have an inbuilt intuition. I can't describe what it is or where it comes from or the physics of it or the chemistry of it, but it's there, and anybody will tell you to stick with your intuition. If you think something doesn't feel right, then don't hang around.
Superb advice from regular contributor to Scary Eire, David McGlynn, aka The Squire. And don't hang around either. If you've got an Irish paranormal tale to tell, simply email paranormalireland@protonmail.com and it'll be read out for you. Or you get to tell it on air yourself. That's paranormalireland@protonmail.com. Mark Manning.
What a woman of substance was our Gwen Acorah. I certainly hope you enjoyed that nice long-form interview. Now, I don't know about you, but my mammy always taught me it was nice to thank people. And therefore today our readers on the section Random, Anonymous, Strange But True were, in order, they were Sarah Campbell, she's an event host, a radio broadcaster and voiceover of note, followed up by the master of the universe himself, David McGlynn. David and I go way, way back. He's also known as the Squire, because he's he's got an interest in all things antique and classic cars, and he's also a businessman, and he's a kind of a Swiss Army knife, really, of all kinds of everything. What a great guy. And new to the fold, I have to mention the lovely Caoimhe Garvey. Now, I first heard her dulcet tones when she partook in a little section we had. Remember a few months back, an all-female programme we had? And I heard her and I went, ooh, I like that kind of youthful lilt she's got to her voice. So I got in touch, and I'm now happy to say she is going to read for us until she decides otherwise. And she represents not one but two teams, Paranormal Adventures Ireland as well as the Para-Unity Project. By the way, if you'd like to read for the show and you think you have it in you, I'll decide about that, but get in touch. paranormalireland@protonmail.com. That's all you got to do is email me. paranormalireland@protonmail.com. Coming up on the next show of Scary Eire, I plan to have Carmel Conway. She's from Tuam in County Galway, and she's a character. She's great crack, but more importantly for our show, she is a psychic medium, and I think you're really going to enjoy her. If I can squire him in as well, I have a long interview done with Eugene Doran, late of the parish Afterlife Paranormal, and I think new to the parish of Ghost Eire. He's joining Anthony and the team. Now then, darlings, that's pretty much all I've got to say to you about the show, today's and the future shows and all that kind of thing. So you just wrap up well now in a nice woolen underpants or knickers and have yourself a top toddy, or even totty if you're feeling a little bit amorous. No, but what I really want to say is I'm Mark Manning. It's been a pleasure to serve you today, and may your life be filled with unexpected and beautiful things. Take care, 'cause I care.